I read the case Height versus Vermeer, where Height is the employee and she was diagnosed with severe depression, and her doctor decided that sporadic use of FMLA when her depression was complicated and she couldn't work during those times. He decided that was the best case. She had filled out the paperwork and had had no issues until she got a new supervisor. And based on the case, reading through the case, he basically had it out for her and disliked her. So she had spoken to him directly, and he kept writing her up for missing days, even though it was covered under FMLA. He told her she couldn't take FMLA, though she was already approved and could. At one point, Height went to the HR representative and had expressed that her supervisor was, she felt, harassing her about her FMLA use. If Height had come to me at that point, I would have listened to her side of the story, and then I would have talked to the other parties involved individually. And from the case, the supervisor was, harassing her and not treating her fairly. He kept moving her around to different machines that she hadn't been trained on. FMLA guarantees you your position or a similar position. So I guess it would really depend on, she was a CNC machinist. So it would really depend on the other machines that, he had been moving her to, if that were a similar type of job. So I would start out with, again, talking to all parties involved, listening to the stories and what had gone on, reviewing Height's attendance versus her FMLA use, and then if I would find that her supervisor was harassing her based on her FMLA use, I would probably have a sit-down discussion with him, his boss, if he had one, and explain that harassment is not tolerated, and give him, some training, and if the issue continued, he would be subject to termination. We could also try moving Height to a different shift, to a different area under a different supervisor, because her supervisor was harassing her, and that can cause a lawsuit on our end as well for not stopping the harassment, which is, inevitably what happened. Height was awarded back pay for being wrongfully terminated. She had asked her supervisor permission to use her phone during company time, and he had agreed, and then he went behind her back to his supervisor saying that she should be fired for doing this. They ended up reviewing her entire file, and since her supervisor had wrongly written her up for absences and calling them unexcused absences, even though she had FMLA protection, the person reviewing her file, had a negative opinion of her. She doesn't come to work, whatever. But again, those write-ups were wrongfully issued, so she should not have been terminated at that point. Yeah.